We begin tonight with the Representatives Mo Brooks of Alabama and Jody Hice of Georgia. They met with the president yesterday. Hice says that he will lead an objection to Georgia's electors on January the 6th. And both say that there are a growing number of lawmakers who plan to join their effort in multiple states. Congressman Mo Brooks and Congressman Jody Hice join me now. Thank you very much. Good to have both of you with us. Congressman Brooks, let me start with you. Tell me a little bit about the meeting that you had with the president and what his plan is for the next days before January the 6th.
Well, first, it's not the president's plan. The president does have a vote in this. We were there to inform him of what we intend on doing. And there are now dozens in the House of Representatives who are persuaded, as I am, that there's been massive voter fraud and election theft, and we can either accept that or fight it. And we've chosen to fight. I'm very pleased that Jody Hice has stepped up to the plate, and he's going to take the lead role in the state of Georgia, his home state. And we've got others in many other states, too, who are going to take the lead role. And it's looking very promising on the House side. We do need senators who will stand up for America, for our republic, for our election system. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, so just staying with you, Congressman Brooks, for just a moment here. The way that this has to go, as I understand it, is that you would have to have a senator and a member of the House contest the outcome in a state. Then, if that happens, if you get a senator and a member of the House, then you go to a break. The session stops, and then there's a discussion for 2 hours, and then you'd have to get approval from both the House and the Senate to overturn the electoral outcome of any state. Is that correct? And is that doable?
Well, that is the case under the law. We have a recess of the joint session of Congress. The Senate goes back to the Senate side of the Capitol. The House stays in the House chamber. We have 2 hours of public policy debate. People can present their arguments as they believe best to try to persuade others that may be on the fence. Most importantly, to help the public understand how egregious this voter fraud and election theft really is, in contrast to the hear nothing, see nothing reaction in the news media by and large about the fraud that occurred. And then we'll have a House floor vote and a Senate floor vote. In the Senate, it will be a majority of the 100 senators. In the House, there's an open debate as to whether it's going to be a majority of the state delegations, and the Republicans hold a majority of the state delegations, or whether it will be a majority of the 435 congressmen that determines the outcome of that vote.
So, Representative Hice, let me bring you in here. What is the voter fraud that you see that forced you over to this side of the table to say that you are going to contest the electors in Georgia on January the 6th? Tell everyone exactly what the evidence is.
Well, there's tons of it, Martha. Let me just say thanks to Mo Brooks for his leadership in all of this. He's been spectacular with it, and we're grateful. But look, here in Georgia, it all starts with the illegal activities of our Secretary of State creating election law for which he has no jurisdiction or authority to do. That's left to our state legislatures, and he totally bypassed them. Then you have massive invitations, really, for voter fraud through sending invitations for absentee ballots. Ends up being 1.3 million voters in Georgia. With that, there's no voter ID. There's signature verifications that did not take place. There's ballot harvesting through the drop-off boxes. There's kicking out poll watchers. There's the video that we saw where ballots are being counted after poll watchers have left. I mean, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. And every day.
Congressman, let me just ask you, because, I think there's a lot of frustration, even on the part of people who would love to agree with what you're saying, but they look at all of these court cases across the country, and they look at the fact that the Supreme Court, which, you would think would want to weigh in when there's a debate between a state legislature, which is supposed to come up with the election laws, and the state court system, which overruled them in a lot of these cases. And they chose not to take it up. I know President Trump was very upset about that. But what do you say to those who look at all the different sort of markers that have already been passed unsuccessfully and say, it's time to accept all of that? What do you say to them?
Yeah, really two things. Number one, it's unfortunate that the courts have not taken up these cases. They've not looked at the evidence because they've not taken the cases. You can't look at evidence if you don't take the case. So that's one thing. The second thing I would say is because we have not had our day in court, we will now have our day in Congress. And in that, we will present to the American people the evidence that actually took place and thousands of affidavits verifying voter fraud in multiple ways in multiple states.
Martha, may I add a point
All
on
right,
this?
gentlemen. Yes, of course. Go ahead, Congressman.
I have a legal background, litigated in many states across the country. The bottom line is this: the judiciary is not set up to handle cases of this magnitude with the voter fraud and the election theft in so many different ways occurring. And the judiciary also recognizes that under the United States Constitution and federal statutes, the primary responsibility for handling election disputes involving the presidency of the United States is the United States Congress. It's not the courts. And unfortunately, the Congress has been shirking its responsibility by not engaging in the kinds of investigations that need to take place so that congressmen and senators will have the information they need in order to make informed judgments and decisions when we vote on whether to accept or reject the submittals of various states' electoral college votes.
All right, but before I let you go, Congressman Brooks, I just want to ask you quickly, has there been any mention of martial law or some of the other very extreme measures that we've heard talked about that have provoked, a very big reaction in a lot of corners in the country? Was there discussion about any of those avenues with the president?
Not in my presence, and quite frankly, I believe that that's all overblown. I don't think there's any real substance to it, but the news media has to make stories, and that's one way to do it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Congressman Hice and Brooks, good to have you here tonight. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.